When you're done with your work inside Lightroom and inside Photoshop, you want to export the images for the final delivery. And for this you have a few options with the file formats. And as mentioned in the beginning, the most accessible option of a file format is the JPEG format, because it can be shown and presented everywhere on the internet. But what is if you want to print your file and not send it to a website or to a social media platform? Then you want to work with the TIF format, because the TIF format has the option to save in 16-bit per channel. But for this, the TIF format is even bigger and much bigger than a JPEG, because a JPEG is a compressed format, compressed file format with just 8-bit per channel. And the TIF format can have 8-bit, 16-bit, can be compressed and not compressed, and the compression is always not based on lossy formats, so it's a lossless compression. And to see what's the difference, I will export this image in the file size I have here, and one time with a JPEG and one time with a lossless TIF compression with 16-bit per channel. So let's see what's the difference. So here I'm inside Lightroom, and you see the image size of this photo is roughly 4000 by 6000 pixels. And now I want to export this, and for this I want just to export it directly on the desktop. And first of all, I want to export it as a JPEG. Let's go with 100% quality, sRGB, and no resize and no sharpening. So just the pixels as JPEG 100% on the quality and sRGB. And now I will export exactly the same image with the TIF format. So I go as TIF, sRGB as well. Compression zip is okay because it's a lossless compression, and this time I will go with 16-bit per channel, and I will go to export. And now I have both files here on the desktop, and I will open both files in Photoshop to see what's the difference and if there is a difference. So as mentioned before, the TIF file has 16 bits per channel, the JPEG has the 8-bit. And so I will take the 8-bit JPEG and bring it over to the TIF file and just drag it over to here, drop it here, and Photoshop asks me if I want, or that the target document had a different bit depth because it's 16-bit, and here they're 8-bit, and if I want to proceed, yes, and this is my JPEG, JPG 8-bit, just as in remember, or to remember, and this is the TIF with 16-bit, like this. Okay, and when I now go into 100% and go to a region where I can see some details over here, now I see the JPEG. When I uncheck the eye in front of the JPEG, you see now the TIF. So that's the JPEG, that's the TIF, that's the JPEG, that's the TIF. On my side, I don't see an optical difference. It's definitely nothing to really see. Maybe there's some little changes, but they're, yeah, maybe not that big. And to see, I will go again to the difference blend mode and zoom out a little bit. And if you really look closely, but I don't think that the compression will bring this through, there are some small and minor differences. And when I go to the info over here and just go through this region, you see there's a difference of 1, 1, 0, and so there is more or less nothing. And if I want to see the difference, I have to amplify these small changes over here. And to amplify, you can go to the adjustment layers and add a curve. And this small region on the left is the difference. So if I bring up the white point extremely, then you see the difference in this image. And for sure, JPEG is a lossy compression, so there must be some differences. But you also see a JPEG with 100% quality is more or less the same as a TIFF. And what's also the fact is that you definitely wouldn't see the difference if you just switch on and off the layer, or if you print these images, the TIFF and the JPEG, next to each other and look to them, you will never see a difference between these two images. So yes, a TIFF is better. It's 16-bit, it's lossless, but the JPEG with 100% quality is also a really capable file. So let's see what's the difference on the desktop, so on the file size. So this is the TIFF, this is the JPEG. I will take two of them, Command E for the information, and you see the JPEG with 100% quality has a file size of 16.5 megabyte on the hard drive, and the TIFF with 16-bit per channel has 170.1 megabyte. So the TIFF file is roughly 10 or let's say 8 times bigger than the JPEG, but from an optical standpoint you wouldn't see a difference at all. So another thing you can check as well is the following. I will export this file again and now again as a JPEG, and will go down to 84%, so that's the size I will use most of the time. I will rename this to JPEG 84, export this as well. Then over here I will open this in Photoshop. So first of all, maybe here I will add this to the file size comparison. So now you see the 48 file has 7 megabyte on the hard drive. And when I open this in Photoshop over here and just say JPEG 48, so this is the quality I use for exporting most of my images, bring it in over here and also go to the difference blend mode, and now I can see that there is a little bit more of a difference because the JPEG compression hits a little bit harder, but with 84% on the quality, it's really a good compromise between file size and quality, and you don't have to go with 100% like it is here on this file. So just remember, if you go for a 100% JPEG, that's a really good compromise in regards of file size to quality. If you want to have the maximum quality, you can go with a TIFF and no compression, but then it's really big. You can go with a lossless compression with the zip compression, but then it's still a big file, a really big file, and a JPEG with 100% is for most applications. For example, if you want to print in different sizes, big, whatever, is a really good file to work with. So don't always go with the biggest is the best, because if you do the difference comparison inside Photoshop, you see there is a difference, but it's so tiny that you will never see it in a one-by-one comparison.